Hello, everybody, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time to Shaman Talk with Tegan. That is the name of my channel. This is where you're going to find me on social media, and that is also my email at gmail.com. So, today we are going to discuss the topic of illuminations as well as soul retrievals. So, earlier on this page, I did these as a separate video. I'm going to lump them together this time. And if there's more interest in wanting to know more about them again, then I will make separate videos, but they can kind of be lumped together. And when it comes to the illumination process and soul retrievals, I don't like to give a ton of detail because everyone's experience is so vastly different that I don't want to put an idea into someone's head who wants to do a session with me and then that's not exactly how it goes down or what they sense or feel. And then they're either disappointed or the other way where something extreme does happen and they're like, whoa, 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 what the hell is going on? So I'm going to kind of talk a little vaguely. I'll probably go into a little detail. I can't help myself, but I'm going to talk as vaguely as possible about it because I want people to go into this experience if they get a session with me, for a genuine reaction and genuine feelings and healing. So, the biggest part of what I do right now as a shaman is energy work. And the energy work that I do is called an illumination. So, what I do is I go into everybody's chakras system. So, I'm sure even some of you out there who are a little on the fence about what I do or some of the things that I talk about have heard of your chakras. You have your root chakra all the way down at the bottom, and you go whoop up to the top. Got your crown chakra up here. You got 7 of them that are directly connected to your body. Now, you have more than 7, but that's for another video, another time. But we'll talk about the 7 that you have that directly connect and correlate with your body. So, in the illumination process, what happens is either the person's laying in front of me or I do a lot of distance healing. And when I do a distance healing, I always make sure, like, hey, are you in a spot where it's quiet, where you won't be disturbed, and you can just relax? Because that's why I have this space, is because sometimes people don't have that. Maybe where you are is very loud or there's lots of energy. Some people come in person, but if you have a place where you can go where you're kind of left alone for a little bit, then there's no difference between the healing that's done in person or over the phone. So what I do is I go in and I literally go into people's chakras and I clear out stagnant energy. Where does this stagnant energy come from? Everything. It can literally just be from the daily buildup of things, especially if you're someone who doesn't know how to kind of cleanse yourself properly, energetically and spiritually. It can be from this life trauma. People hold on to these things, and there's science out there about it too. The one book that's pretty popular is The Body Keeps Score. I think that's the title. And that's about how, even when you have these traumas that happen, even after it happens, your body can lock in and hold on to them and to these deep emotions and these deep wounds. And then, being in the line of work that I am, I often find a lot of past life trauma as well. So what's hard is, of course, I'm not trying to sit here and I'm not trying to actively convince everyone that they have a past life, but I'm just going based off of what I see, what I sense, and it's a lot of past life stuff. So it's hard because you might not even know that it's happening, that you're holding on to these old traumas you don't consciously know anything about. So I also go in and clear those. So I literally go in and open up the chakra that I sense is off or that is closed, and I just start taking things out, start taking them out. And of course, there's a whole process that I do, but I won't go into every little detail. And so in doing that, I can get that chakra cleared out. And, however many, sometimes I do a session with someone, only one chakra is closed, and we just work on that one. Sometimes people's entire being is shut down. And so it's like, all right, we're going into all of them and clearing them out. It depends too on your openness and your your body's physical ability to heal and things. There's so many little things that depend on that kind of like come together to make up the session, so to speak. So that's why it's hard to talk about this just once or whatever, because some people are up here like, hey, I'm ready to let it go, let's do this, but their physical bodies don't know how to do it. Even with me helping, and their bodies are locked in. Or sometimes it's the opposite, where their physical body is giving them signs of like trying to let go, but your mind is still in the mess, so to speak. So it's really a combination of all these things coming together. So I'm just doing my part in the physical and energetic body of removing these things that people hold on to. So what can happen in an illumination process, and again, this doesn't happen every time, but I can find different things. Sometimes it's just, oh, this chakra's clogged, let me unclog it, then we can get the energy flowing again. Sometimes I'm going and I'm like, whoop, there's something called an object. So an object can come along, and I physically literally feel like an object, like a lump is there, or sometimes it's, again, a past life problem or the way you died in a past life. Like I often find things like the most recent one I did, there's a spear in someone's like heart chakra, and is most likely how they died in a past life, or it represents something about their past life. That, and these things are physically there, not physically, obviously you're not walking around just hanging out with a spear, but in an energetic sense, like I can feel it and I remove it. So there can be objects, physical things that I feel, and it's hard because when I remove those things, it depends on who you are. Some people feel like coming out a little bit, and not necessarily in a extreme painful way, but they feel like, whoa, something's being lifted off of me. But some people don't feel it immediately, and it won't be until 2 weeks later where they're like, whoa, I feel like I don't have as heavy of a weight on my chest as before. So it's always, sometimes it's subtle sometimes, and other times it is absolutely not subtle, and it's like people have kind of freaked out a little bit during sessions. But the thing to keep in mind is no matter when it happens or how it happens, whatever healing is done is necessary. Even if it's something, sometimes someone comes in, they're like, hey, I think I just need, my root chakra is closed, or maybe they don't even know that much about the chakra system. They're like, something's just off. And I start getting in there, and then all of a sudden all these emotions start bubbling up. And in the moment, the person might be like, wow, this sucks. Why do I feel so sad? Or why am I crying? But ultimately, that's what needs to happen. I can clear out those, literally help you physically clear out the feelings and the negative emotions that are hanging in there. Now, something else that can happen during the illumination process is I can find a cord. And a cord is different from an object. A cord is literally linked from you to usually another person. It can be linked. I have had it where it's linked to like a past life again, or a past event. And those are a little bit harder to pinpoint, but usually it's to another person. And this person can be living or dead. So this cord is usually, when there's a cord, it's some kind of negative attachment, and not in the way of my last video about attachments, but like there's some sort of negative give and take with this person. And even if they crossed over, it might have been, oh, while they were alive, we had that type of relationship. But now that they're crossed over, I don't have interactions with them. A cord can still be there. So if I find one, we cut it, we get rid of it, and we release it. But what I say about cords is, if I, cut a cord for you, there's still work that needs to be done on your end. So it's not a cut and everything's good. It's a cut, and you'll feel at whatever point, to whatever extent, like, oh, a disconnect. Some people panic, and then they're off to texting this person again, or they're off to go see this person again. I always tell people, if I cut a cord, especially if someone's still living, you need to make sure you take the next step into keeping them cut off. You know what I mean? So cords are always interesting because you never know what's going to come of it. So another thing that can happen during illumination, and these don't usually all happen in one. Sometimes, depending on the person and what they're carrying, it might be like, oh, found an object, bye-bye. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, there's a cord. Sometimes these things just pop up, pop up, pop up, but other times not. Not only do I sense while I'm doing this what you need and what's coming up, but sometimes I get guidance like from your guides or my guides, like, hey, yes, there's more stuff here, but this person's had enough for today. Especially if you're new to the energy work world, so to speak, even just doing one cord cutting can be emotionally and spiritually exhausting, so that's another thing too, is everyone's situation is different and other people can handle more while some people won't. So some people's sessions are like 30 minutes and that's all, because that's all that needs to be done that day. Some people, on the other hand, might be ready for a lot to be released, and we're hitting the hour mark because there's just so much happening. So it's hard too, because some people are like, oh, well, why my session was so short last time and this time it was longer. And I understand why people sometimes would be a little confused, but it's like the same amount of work is being done. It's just that sometimes you're ready to release it faster, and sometimes not. Or sometimes it's literally your guides telling me, hey, enough's enough for today. We're done here. Don't want to overdo it. Okay, so what else can happen during an illumination? It's ultimately a release of something negative that you have been holding on to, okay? No matter what, there's something that needs to be gone from your energy field that you're holding on to. Now, I'm using the term energy field. Maybe I should explain a little bit more. So you have your chakras, and stemming basically from your chakras is this giant like ball that's around you of energy, and it's a blueprint of who you are and what you've been through the many times you've most likely incarnated. And it holds on to the traumas, it holds on to the karmic issues, it holds on to all the stuff that makes you you. So even though I'm going into your chakra system when I clear out these things, it's ultimately stemming from this giant bubble of energy that everyone has around them. And what happens is these things can be like, I've found things like outside of someone's chakras or outside of their bodies, so to speak, and kind of have had to clear like around them. But usually what happens is when I find these intense emotions or these objects or cords, they kind of like anchor in to one of the chakras in your body. And that's why we clear the chakra itself usually. But there was one time I was clearing an object from someone and I could sense that it was a bullet. I could like in my mind's eye see the wound like going through their neck, and the bullet was lodged in the actual energy field, which is so far in my experience rare. Like I said, it usually anchors in, finds its way into a chakra so it can be pulled out when necessary. But this person, it was the wildest thing. It was through their neck, and then the bullet was still just out there, almost like floating around them. So we had to not only heal the wound, but get the object, get the bullet out. And then from there, I still have another process that I have to do to heal everything and things like that. But you just never know what's going to come up. So it's always interesting. So it's always nice to work with people. Well, I love working with anyone because that's what I'm trying to do, is just help people and heal them. But especially if they have an open mind and you can share all these things and be like, hey, you got a bullet floating around your energy field. Give me a second here, And depending on the person, some people are not going to want to even know that. They're just going to be like, do what you need to do. Leave me out of it. Just do the thing. So that can happen. And then another thing that can happen, I just made my last video about it, is a spirit attachment. The way I trained to find a spirit attachment is in person. There's a specific test to see what's going on. But I will say, in doing more and more illuminations, working with more people, there are ways to tell, even if we're distance, if you've got an attachment. First of all, I described in the video ways that you might be able to tell that either you have an attachment or someone else does. Just from things people tell me sometimes, I'm like, uh-oh, we've got a problem here. Or for me, what happens is I'm starting to sense like either I start chasing your chakras, is what I call it. Like one's open and then it's closed. So then I open it. Then another one closes. Then another one closes. It's like it's hopping around trying to like not be able to be found, trying to get away from me. Or now too, if it's like a strong entity or one that's maybe not just like I was saying in my last video, if it's not grandma hanging around and it's something darker, there's this intent for me as the practitioner, there's this intense all of a sudden just like nausea that comes over me where I'm like, oh no, we've got an issue here. But the good news is I can help you with it. So again, if the person is very open and wants to know everything, I'm going to tell them, hey, we've got an entity here, I need to detach it. Or I always have to ask permission to remove things. So I have to ask them to remove the object, cut the cord, to ask them if they want the entity removed. Haven't been told no so far, but if there's something that is like deeply attached to you, you might be like, hey, I don't want this person gone, or I don't want that cord detached, or, so haven't been denied yet, but probably is going to happen at some point, So anyways, I can find the attachment and also get rid of that during an illumination. And like I said earlier, this does not usually happen all at one time. Like usually in a session, it's just clearing out the chakras and maybe cutting a cord, or just clearing the chakras and maybe there's something else going on. I do want to say though, like most people will be able to tell if they have a cord. An object, probably not. A cord, maybe, because a lot of times it's with relationships that we have going on in our lives. And again, it's a negative thing where you feel like you're feeding off each other in a negative way, or like, a really codependent relationship, no matter what it is. If it's with a boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe it's with a parent, a sibling, something like that, where it's like, it's not great. So there probably is a cord. But okay, the last thing that can happen during an illumination, before I go off on another tangent here, is the soul retrieval. So, in my opinion so far, soul retrieval is something that needs to be done for everyone. But I'm not going to always do it in every session. And here's why. First of all, you are someone who just like is a little energetically all over the place, then we need to kind of start with the basics. We're going to start with just a regular illumination and get you going and get you starting to clear your energy. Because so far I've found like if someone's energy is still a little too chaotic, then doing the soul retrieval is going to do it's not going to be bad, but you need to be able to integrate a lot of energy into your own energy field for it to work and for it to be a positive thing. So I feel like I'm saying this wrong, because soul retrieval is never a negative thing. So what is a soul retrieval? When you go through a trauma, whether it's this lifetime or a past lifetime, literally a piece of your soul can kind of just like leave. You're going through something and a part of you is like, oh, hell no, I'm out of here. This sucks. So your soul piece will kind of go off into, for understanding's sake, another dimension. And we'll just hang out where it's peaceful and be like, whoops, got out of there. Whew. So in doing that, there's some kind of contract or bond that's made between you and that soul part that's gone. So the contract can be literally anything. So let's just say, for a simple example, you are being tortured in a past life, and you're there because a friend of yours, someone who you thought was a friend, tattled on you that you were doing something, so now you end up in a torture chamber. When that soul piece leaves, there's some kind of contract, such as, oh, I'm never trusting anyone ever again. I'm out of here. You just solidified that. And now that's what's part of floating in your energy field, is that contract of never trust anyone, or I'm never trusting anyone again. So flash forward to this lifetime, you might have trust issues and you're just not sure why. You're like, I've never been, no one's ever really given me a reason not to trust them, but for some reason, I cannot trust anybody. It's stemming from that life where you made a literal contract with yourself that's solid and there in your energy that you weren't going to. So as the practitioner, I go into a journey state and I go and find out what happened first of all. So then I would see something like the torture going on. Then next, I would find out the contract. What I do is I get rid of the contract, burn it, do whatever. There's different ways to go about it. And then I bring back that piece of your soul that left and I integrate it back into your body. So, the integration process can be intense. And again, some people, it's an immediate thing. Some people, it's not until weeks later where they're kind of like, wait a minute, I feel different. Or, I'm really being able to work through my trust issues now. So, just depends on the person, but bringing back that part of you just makes you more whole. Now, I don't want to scare people because it's not like, oh, everyone's walking around with only half a soul, but most of us probably are missing pieces of ourselves. And again, it's in this realm of like subconscious, in this realm of past lives. And a lot of people aren't there yet in understanding that terminology or what that really means. And that's okay. But that's the point of me making these videos, is to make it a little more common, hopefully make it a little more accessible to people so that me and whoever else has these abilities, not just me, can just help. I'm just trying to help heal. The more parts we can call back of ourselves, the better off we are just as human beings, So again, if you have an open mind, then we go and do the soul retrieval. And so usually though, the thing is, the reason I don't usually do it with someone I've done no sessions with is because their energy is going to be all over the place, or sometimes just certain things need to be cleared first. Because when I go to that place to get your soul piece back, I have to convince them to come back usually. And in my experience so far, has not been a time that a soul part hasn't come back with me, but there has been times where I have to convince that soul, like, hey, this person's doing the work. They're here with me. That's why I'm here, because they're ready. They're ready for you to come back, because that part of your soul's like, oh, the last time I was incarnated, we were being tortured, So I have to convince the soul, like, hey, it's all right. You're not being tortured anymore. You can trust people. Like, come back with me. And of course, it's not always that extreme of something going on, but usually it's something traumatic, So I have to do the convincing. Sometimes though, I'll get to like where the soul is and they're like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. And that's always nice, but it's not always like that. Sometimes it takes a little convincing to do that. So, I always tell people an illumination is not a one and done thing. You might feel like results from one session, which is amazing. But if you're truly on the road to healing yourself fully, it's going to take more than one. And again, I'm not trying to put out there that you have to see me or you have to do my line of healing, but it's a process. Healing is a process. The deep rooted, deep seated healing is a process. It takes a while. It's not, oh, okay, great, if I'm done now. It's a lifelong thing, but the more you do it, the lighter you feel, the more yourself you feel, the more you can like go through life kind of going with the flow, so to speak, So it's like things are still going to happen. Bad things are still going to come your way. Negative things that seem negative, but you're going to be able to understand what's going on better and handle things better and know that, and there's quotes about this. There's like the tough times can really teach you a lot. I'll say it that way. I don't want to say it in the way that some quotes are like, oh, tough times make tough people. It's not about being tough. It's about understanding what's going on and processing it properly so that we can just keep living our lives. We're here to heal. We're here to be of service to each other. And we're here to find joy in love. That's the point. But some of us our energy is so dense and packed with these traumas and these negative emotions and these contracts that it's hard to break out of that, So I will say to you, if you're someone that feels like, oh, I'm just like always sad, or I cannot shake this feeling of fear, that's a clue that you might need an illumination, that you might need a soul retrieval. Things might be going on. Things probably are going on. Most people are not here and just free of any trauma, So, and I also just want to put out there that I have heard people say things like, oh, well, I've been in therapy for years now, or I've been doing these sessions and I've been able to pinpoint what's going on, which is great. But then what do I do with that information? How do I release it? How do I heal it? And this is where I think therapy type things and spiritual healing need to come together, because it's like, okay, the first step might be therapy to figure out what the hell was going on, or figure out your triggers, whatever it is. And then part of the healing process to let it go, some people are going to need help and physically need me or whoever to literally help them get this trauma out of their system. And once you can do that, your energy flows better and you can flow better with life, and you don't have these things just hanging around on you. Okay, so that was a lot of information to put out there in one video. As always, if you have questions, want to know more, or just like, yeah, I think I need one of those, let me know. We can do in person or over the phone. And again, it's like this deep rooted thing. I just want to give an example for a soul retrieval. Okay. I knew someone who they just kind of lived in a world of anxiety. They were in constant fear. And so I did a soul retrieval and I saw kind of the root problem, right? So I bring their soul back, bring that part back. And there's parts of their life that used to make them pause and give them anxiety and give them lots of fear. And in a certain realm, they're like, whoa, I don't fear doing this anymore. I just did it the other day without even thinking about it. And I always tell people, I'm not claiming that I'm going to free you of all fear all the time. You're never going to feel it again. But in those core deep issues, that's how we start to release them. Same thing goes for sadness. I mentioned in my first video that I just, even in the happy moments, I still felt an undercurrent of sadness. And so in these, I've done lots of soul retrievals, gotten done to me. I've done them on myself, and now I don't feel that anymore. It took a couple times, it took a couple clearings, but now I can genuinely say I have moments of actual pure joy, which is amazing to feel. And then, there have been times where I've done a soul retrieval and people have felt it physically in their body. They've had minor pains here and there, or, I do the soul retrieval and they're like, whoa, I don't feel that pain either anymore at all, or it's very little. And so again, I hesitate because I don't want to put out there that I am some miracle worker and I'm going to cure all your problems. But when we do this type of deep healing, that's when, good, intense things can happen. So let's go very briefly. Reasons that you might need illumination, because I think that almost everybody does. Number 2, you feel some type of deep emotion that you can't shake no matter what. Anxiety, fear, sadness, things that no matter what you seem to accomplish or what you do, you just can't quite let go of that feeling. It's always lingering. We need to get it cleared out. Or even if you can be more specific, like with a soul retrieval, it's like, oh, I fear this, but I don't know why. Or this specifically makes me sad. I don't know why. Or if you think you have a cord, there's someone that you have that cord attached to, you cannot let this person go. Well, go in and cut it. The list can go on, but these are just some basic ones to look out for if you're considering this type of work. So yes, don't be afraid to reach out with questions, or if you just need to talk about something, you're not sure if you need an illumination, or you just don't know which way is up, I'll try and help you. But yeah, let's get it done. Let's do the healing, the intensive healing that needs to be done. If you think you have an attachment, let me know. And as I said in one of my other videos, if you think maybe you don't have attachment, but maybe it's something going on with your house or something, also let me know. Besides that, I can cleanse the houses. I can do other things. I got bags of tricks, so I also do tarot card readings. If you're like, whoa, this all sounds way too intense. Where do I start? That's like basics. Get a reading done. We can go from there. But yeah, email me, comment on here, find me on social media, Facebook or Instagram, comment, message me, whatever. I'm here to inform. I'm here to open people's minds. I'm here to help and heal. That's all. I don't claim to know every little thing. I don't claim to, have all the answers, but if I can help you in some way, then great. Let's do it.